I remember a time when I was involved with the daughter of an incredibly wealthy family. It didn't seem to matter to her that I came from nothing. She would spend lavishly on me without a second thought. She would kiss me with what I believed was genuine affection on the tarmac beside her family's private jet. For a while, I was convinced that what we had was love. That illusion shattered the day her childhood friend came back into her life. Suddenly, the gifts I had carefully chosen for her were discarded, forgotten as she laughed and talked with him, their connection obvious to everyone but me. I understood the unspoken message and quietly removed myself from her life that same day, staying away for 5 long years. I had assumed she would be happy with the life she was meant to live. So why, years later, did I hear she had been crying? On the day of our university's senior career fair, I saw Clara again. She was dressed in a sophisticated business suit that projected an air of cool confidence. A crowd of admirers and hopeful applicants surrounded her, hanging on her every word. From a safe distance, my roommates were discussing her in hushed, reverent tones. Everyone was desperate for a chance to work at Aura Airlines, and it was all because of Clara Liu. It was hard to believe she was only a year older than us. At 23, Clara was the heir to the airline, a true airline princess. Beyond her formidable family background, she was undeniably striking. She was tall and slender, with refined features and a poise that commanded attention. I recalled how Aura Airlines had hired a group of famous actresses for a promotional campaign the previous year, but it was Clara who had completely overshadowed them. The consensus was that she was the ultimate ambassador for her family's brand. I glanced over and saw her fielding questions from students with a calm, composed demeanor, a stark contrast to the girl I once knew. The Clara I remembered was spiteful and cold, her beautiful thin lips capable of uttering the most cutting words. My roommates continued their chatter. "Look at the campus heartthrob. He's practically falling over himself trying to get her attention," one of them whispered. "He doesn't stand a chance. Didn't you see Clara's childhood friend standing right next to her? Ethan is so handsome. He and Clara are perfect together. I heard they've known each other since they were kids." Another one sighed dreamily. "Wow, it's wonderful to see a couple that's so perfectly matched." The conversation took an unexpected turn when someone said, "Hey, don't you guys think Leo looks a bit like Ethan?" The focus suddenly shifted to me. Did I look a bit like him? It was more than just a passing resemblance. How else would a poor student from a rural village like me have ever caught the eye of someone like Clara Liu 5 years ago? She had personally tutored me, teaching me the intricacies of aeronautics. She had once kissed me on a private airstrip, filling my head with a grand, beautiful dream, all because my face reminded her of his. The session moved to an open question and answer period. My most outgoing roommate, Sam, was the first to raise his hand. He didn't have a real question. He just wanted to gush. "Ethan, you're so handsome," Ethan responded with a warm, practiced smile. "Thank you. Please, everyone, remember to support Aura Airlines." My roommate, feeling bold, added, "Oh, by the way, I have a friend who looks exactly like you." Instantly, every head in our direction turned, including Clara's. Her gaze lingered on our group, sharp and inquisitive. I quickly bent down, fumbling with my shoelaces as if they had suddenly come untied, my heart hammering against my ribs. Fortunately, my roommate's comment was just a casual observation, and the moment passed as another student asked a question. "Miss Liu, what kind of applicant would Aura Airlines never want to hire?" Clara answered without a moment's hesitation. "Show-offs." Her response seemed to catch everyone by surprise. She elaborated with a calm, level voice. "Personally, I have a strong dislike for people who are boastful or dishonest. When I encounter applicants like that during an interview, I disqualify them immediately. A student followed up. Does that come from a negative personal experience? Well, she said, a slight, unreadable smile playing on her lips. My ex-boyfriend was exactly like that. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Even after the event concluded, the hall was abuzz with gossip about Clara and her mysterious ex. No one saw me as I dropped the Aura Airlines brochure into a nearby bin and slipped away from the crowd. My roommates were all enrolled in the flight attendant program, while I was studying to become a pilot. All of us had our sights set on Aura Airlines, but the competition was fierce. Nearly the entire flight attendant program was applying. Sam, the bold roommate, was my closest friend. Before the written exam, he pulled me aside to share his anxieties. Leo, I'm honestly so jealous of you, he confessed. You're practically guaranteed a spot at Aura Airlines. What makes you say that? I asked, feigning nonchalance. There are so few male trainees in the pilot program, and you're at the top of your class. A company like Aura would be crazy not to snap you up. I shrugged. Well, it's hard to say. Male pilots aren't in as high demand as you think. No, you're wrong, he insisted. Sometimes guys can be impulsive, but being at the top of your field proves you're steady and that you've put in more work than anyone else. Even I can see that, and I'm sure Aura can too. I offered a non-committal laugh. Actually, I'm not planning on applying to Aura. Huh, why not? He exclaimed, his surprise understandable. Aura Airlines offered the best salary and benefits in the industry. Who in their right mind would turn down that kind of money? I'm thinking about some other airlines, I said vaguely. Sam gasped. Leo, are you nuts? I can't even begin to imagine the kind of salary they offer their pilots. What other airline could possibly match that? It's not about the money, I replied, choosing not to elaborate further. After I walked Sam to the examination hall, I found myself wandering aimlessly across the campus. The sunlight was soft and warm, casting long shadows on the ground. It was in weather just like this, 8 years ago, that I had first met Clara. I came from a small, remote village, and my name was originally Aaron. My parents had both died when I was 10, leaving behind no savings, just a mountain of debt. It was just my grandfather and me, struggling to get by. One day, shortly after my middle school final exams, a famous director visited our village. He was planning to shoot a documentary that would follow the life of a rural child living in a big city for 3 years. They had already found a host family in F City. All they needed was the right child from the countryside. My principal recommended me for the project. Before I left, he took me aside, his expression grave. Aaron, he said, do you understand why you were chosen? I guessed. Because I'm at the top of my class? That's part of it, he confirmed. You have to get into a good university and leave this place for good. I've taught you everything I can, but in the city, you'll have access to better teachers and more opportunities. You must study hard and make the most of this chance. Do you understand? I nodded, understanding the weight of his words. He looked at me with a mixture of hope and pity. My first time on an airplane, flying to F City, I was terribly airsick. The director laughed at my discomfort. That's not going to work, he said. Do you have any idea what the family that's taking you in does for a living? I shook my head, feeling miserable. Look out the window, he instructed. All these airplanes you see, they belong to them. I looked up just in time to see a massive plane taking off. The roar of its engines a physical force that made my heart race. That powerful gust of wind seemed to blow me straight into my 18th year, changing the course of my life forever. I was taken in by the family of the chairman of Aura Airlines. They threw a lavish welcome party for me at their sprawling mansion and gifted me electronic gadgets I had never even dreamed of owning. It was supposed to be a party in my honor, but I felt like an outsider, the quietest and most out-of-place person there. Then, I saw someone who seemed just as isolated as I was. A girl in a simple black dress was standing on the second-floor balcony, looking down at me. I had never seen anyone so beautiful, and her gaze was so distant and cold. That was the first time I met Clara. Clara was the only daughter of the Liu family and the sole heir to the Aura Airlines fortune. She didn't like me from the start, probably because she saw me as common and unrefined. We ended up at the same school, in the same class, but she made it clear that I was to act as if I didn't know her there. The documentary filming wasn't constant. It was scheduled around her parents' busy lives, and they were rarely home. Most of the time, it was just Clara and me in that enormous house. We existed in a state of mutual silence, which only amplified the feeling of emptiness in the vast, quiet rooms. The ice between us finally broke after our first monthly exam. My literature score was the lowest in the entire class. The teacher, as a form of punishment, made me read my essay aloud. It was awkward and childish, like a young boy's diary, and the whole class erupted in laughter. I felt utterly lost and humiliated. That evening, I went back to the mansion and cried in my room. Suddenly, my door was kicked open. It was Clara. I assumed my crying had annoyed her and that she was there to yell at me. Instead, she tossed a small, wrapped candy onto my bed. "Come to my room after you finish that," she said. "What?" I asked, confused. "Just do it," she replied, her tone flat and a little impatient. I had never seen that kind of candy before. I unwrapped the colorful foil and popped it into my mouth. It was a burst of sweet and sour flavor. From that day forward, Clara started helping me with my essays. She also began showing me diagrams and explaining the complex structures of airplanes. By the time final exams came around, my grades had improved dramatically. With the allowance money I had been saving, I bought her a small gift, a keychain shaped like a bird. Her review of it was blunt. "It looks like an ugly chicken." "It's a bird," I corrected her, though not very convincingly. A small smirk touched her lips. It was just that one time, but in that brief moment I saw a gentler side to her. To my surprise, she clipped the keychain to her school backpack. "Thanks, Aaron," she said. Our relationship began to thaw. Clara was brilliant academically and continued to help me with my studies. I soon realized why her attitude toward me had changed. She was profoundly lonely. Her parents were emotionally distant, and before I arrived, she would come home from school to an empty house, save for a nanny. Her initial hostility stemmed from a fear that I would take away the tiny fraction of her parents' love and attention she received. But she eventually understood that I wasn't a threat. Instead, I became the only person who was consistently there for her. One winter night, she came down with a high fever, and I was the one who took her to the hospital, trudging through the snow. When she had to have her appendix removed, I was the one who waited anxiously outside the operating room. Even after the surgery was over, her parents never showed up. For her 16th birthday, Mr. and Mrs. Liu promised they would be home to celebrate with her. We waited, but even by midnight, they hadn't arrived. I found Clara in the garden later that night, smoking a cigarette, the elaborate dinner on the table untouched. Smoking was strictly forbidden in the Liu household, but at that moment, who cared? I wanted to say something to comfort her, but I've never been good with words. In the end, I just grabbed her and pulled her out of the house for a late-night bike ride. Miss Clara Liu, who was always chauffeured everywhere, rarely had the chance to ride a simple bicycle. We rode through the quiet streets, letting the cool night air wash over us, feeling a sense of freedom. I told her stories about my life in the countryside, teaching her how to distinguish wheat from rice. As we looked up at the vast, starry sky, her eyes sparkled. "Someday," she said, her voice soft, I'll establish a flight route that goes directly to your hometown. When you're young, falling in love is a simple, all-consuming thing. From the age of 15 to 18, we were inseparable. When girls at school made fun of my rural accent, Clara would confront them so fiercely that no one ever dared to bully me again. I had a chronic stomach issue that would flare up from time to time, and I still had to put on a smile for the cameras. Just out of the frame, Clara would discreetly pass me a hot water bottle. After we finished our college entrance exams, Clara showed me her coming-of-age present from her parents, a private jet. Her private landing strip felt so close to the night sky. Amidst the powerful roar of the engines, Clara kissed me. It felt like our future was set. If nothing went wrong, we would attend the same university, graduate together, get married, and start a family. So, when did the unexpected happen? Looking back, I think it all began the moment I saw Ethan's photograph. A familiar voice pulled me from my reverie. "Are you here for an interview?" Clara was standing right in front of me, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. I was just there to support Sam during his interview with Aura Airlines. It was just a standard recruitment event, but Clara had shown up in person, and somehow she had noticed me in the crowd. I tried to remain calm as I shook my head. Due to my severe pollen allergies, I was wearing a large mask that covered most of my face, leaving only my eyes visible. Before, I had been malnourished and rail thin. Now, I was healthier, with a tan and a more muscular build. I finally looked like a proper pilot. Surely she couldn't recognize me, right? But then Clara's brow furrowed. "What's your name? Where are you from?" The waiting area fell silent. I didn't answer, trying to think of a way out of the situation. Just then, Sam emerged from the interview room and overheard her question. "Oh, my roommate's name is—" Before he could finish, Clara's expression sharpened, and she lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "Aaron? Aaron?" she asked, her voice laced with an urgency that startled me. Sam was completely baffled. "No, his name is Leo." I took a deep breath. "My name is Leo. Can I help you with something?" "Leo?" She clearly didn't believe me, so I showed her my student ID. The photo on it was old and didn't look much like me anymore, so I wasn't too worried. Still skeptical, Clara demanded, "Can you take off your mask?" There was no way I was going to do that. Sam jumped to my defense. "He has really bad pollen allergies. That's why he has to wear a mask. We're just regular students, and you've already seen his ID." Realizing she had overstepped, Clara apologized, but she couldn't stop staring at me. Even as we walked away, she remained standing there, watching my retreating figure. Sam rubbed my wrist where she had grabbed me. "She didn't hurt you, did she? Clara was being so rough." "It's fine," I reassured him. Sam didn't know our history, so I couldn't blame him for his confusion. But had Clara figured something out? I hoped I was just being paranoid. A wealthy heiress like her wouldn't waste her time holding on to a memory of a stand-in. I had known for a long time that I resembled the young master. I found out in late August, 3 months after Clara and I had officially gotten together. Her birthday was approaching, and I had saved up all my allowance to buy her a designer hoodie I knew she wanted. But on that day, Mrs. Liu summoned me to her study. "Aaron, are you and Clara together?" she asked, her tone deceptively casual. I answered happily, "Yes, ma'am. We both got accepted into a university." "I don't approve," she stated flatly. Her assertive tone caught me completely off guard, leaving me stunned. "You and Clara are from 2 different worlds. I am paying for your education, but that is not an invitation for you to seduce my daughter." "I'm not seducing her," I tried to explain. "There is no we," she cut me off sharply. "Aaron, I believe you're a good boy, but you will never be a son-in-law to the Liu family. I will not allow someone without a proper background to marry into our family, and neither would Clara. She is just amusing herself at this age." Was this the true face of the wealthy elite, so different from the benevolent image portrayed on camera? "Let me be honest with you," Mrs. Liu continued. "You were brought here to enhance the public image of Aura Airlines. You've benefited from an education in F City and have been admitted to a top university. You should be grateful and not entertain fantasies about things that are not meant for you." Her cold, dismissive words were like a physical blow. I stammered, But Clara is serious about me too." "Serious?" She laughed, a sound devoid of any warmth, as she spun her chair around and tossed a set of photos onto her desk. "Look at this young man. His name is Ethan, Clara's childhood friend. She is very fond of him. His family is in the aeronautical materials industry, a perfect match for ours. He went to study abroad shortly before you arrived." That was the first time I saw Ethan, at least in a photograph. We did look similar, but he was undeniably more handsome. In that moment, I felt like nothing more than his replacement. My mind was in a chaotic buzz. "I don't mean to cause you distress," Mrs. Liu said, her voice softening into a pretense of sympathy. "But Ethan has returned, and I felt you needed to know the truth. I consider you almost a son, and I am preparing you for reality." Her combination of kindness and coercion was perfectly executed. She went on, "I appreciate young people who know their place. Think about your grandfather and your beloved principal. What would they think if they learned you were misbehaving in the city, chasing after a girl you have no business with?" I understood her message perfectly. It was both a piece of advice and a thinly veiled threat. Ultimately, it wasn't her words that broke me. When I returned to the villa, intending to confront Clara and ask her for the truth, I saw the handsome man from the photograph standing in the living room. Ethan had come to celebrate Clara's birthday. He looked even better in person. They were talking and laughing together, and the hoodie I had bought for her was lying in the nearby trash can. What followed was simple and brutal. I sent her a text message suggesting we break up. Clara, preoccupied with her guest, replied with a single word. "Reason?" "Bored," I typed back. "The documentary is over, so you have no more value to me." I wasn't trying to protect my pride. I wanted to hurt her. That discarded hoodie represented the last shred of my dignity. Clara's next text was I just a part of your performance in F City? If that's what you want to believe, I can't stop you. Was it a lie when you told me you liked me yesterday?" "Yes," I replied, wanting to push her away, to make her angry. She didn't reply after that. I began to type furiously, a long message questioning why she had used me as a substitute and why she had thrown away my gift. But before I could send it, the only response I received was a glaring red exclamation mark. She had deleted me as a contact. How convenient. My social media account had been registered by Clara and was linked to the alumni network of her private school, which was filled with wealthy and influential people. Mrs. Liu's words had made me realize I couldn't force my way into a world where I didn't belong. So, I deleted the account. I was supposed to start at a university, but I gave up my spot and chose to repeat a year of high school. A university had never been my first choice anyway. My real dream was to attend aerospace university, a goal that seemed even more challenging for someone with my frail constitution. After a year of intense, dedicated work, I received an early admission offer. Later, I legally changed my name, focused on building my physical strength, and began to live my own life. Ironically, the documentary never passed the censorship board's review. They were concerned it might have a negative psychological impact on children in rural areas, so it was never broadcast. It was better that way. I had thought my encounter with Clara at the career fair was just a strange coincidence. A few days later, I went to the faculty office to pick up a job recommendation form. I opened the door to find that the professor wasn't there, but Clara was, sitting at his desk as if she owned the place. Why had she been spending so much time at our school lately? Was the competition for new recruits really that intense? "Are you here for the recommendation form?" Clara asked, her gaze fixed on me. "Come here." I adjusted my mask. "The professor isn't here. I'll come back later." "He asked me to give the form to you." I was trapped. I slowly walked towards her. As I got closer, I noticed she still had the bird keychain I had given her all those years ago, attached to her car keys. It had faded with time, but it was unmistakably the same one. "I'm sorry about our last encounter at the interview session," she said. She had recognized me. "Won't you consider applying to Aura Airlines? You're the top student in your program." "I've already accepted an offer from another airline," I mumbled. "I can offer you triple their salary." "But," she prompted. I swallowed hard. "I just think another company is a better fit for me." Her pen hovered over a document. She lifted her eyes, her gaze piercing. "What could possibly suit you better than working here?" For a second, I thought her words carried a double meaning. I took the form from her and was about to leave when she suddenly grabbed my shoulder. "Running away again? Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you, Aaron?" The room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. I sighed in resignation and pulled off my mask. "It's me." "So what?" Clara's eyes held a dark, simmering intensity as if she was furious. "You've got some nerve," she said, her voice low. "Dropping out of university, deleting your accounts, disappearing without a word. Who taught you to do things like that?" I remained silent. "You've been in F City all these years, but you never once tried to contact me." "Why should I have?" I retorted. "We're not even close." "Not close? After living together for 3 years?" Clara's eyes narrowed as she pressed closer. She had changed a lot in 5 years. She now carried an air of authority that was intimidating. But I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I looked up and smirked. "Clara, there are security cameras in this room. If you get any closer, I'll have to report you for harassment." She frowned. "Aaron, you've changed." "I haven't," I countered. "I've always been this way. Are you disappointed?" Clara didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a folded application form. "Join Aura Airlines. After you complete your training, I'll make sure you're fast-tracked to take the commercial flight license exam." "No." "Don't be stubborn." She was surprisingly patient. The last 3 years have seen a huge number of flight cancellations, which has created a backlog of pilots waiting to be certified. Some have been waiting for years. I still refused. Someone like me, who loves to show off and lie, isn't a good fit for Aura Airlines. Besides, I've already made a commitment to another airline. Clara was still trying to persuade me when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Ethan. I stayed quiet, but I heard Clara answer the call and say, "I found him." "What?" Ethan sounded taken aback. "I found Aaron." Clara was looking directly at me, the call still on speaker. "The guy I ran into the other day was Aaron?" "Oh, really?" Ethan's voice sounded strained, almost disappointed. "Ethan, after the presentation," Clara began, her tone measured, "you told me you checked the profiles of all the male students for me." She paused for a moment. "You said none of them were him. Did you lie to me?" I was surprised by the sharp edge in their conversation. Clara had definitely changed. She was colder, more ruthless, not even hesitating to confront Ethan directly. Ethan stammered, "Maybe I just missed it." "There aren't many men in the aviation program," Clara pointed out. "How could you have missed him? Besides, you should have recognized him from the photograph. Clara, are you blaming me for this? I'm just reminding you, she said coolly. Since you are going to be my assistant, you need to perform your duties diligently. She ended the call. I started to piece things together. On the day of the presentation, Sam's comment must have made Clara suspicious. Ethan had offered to check the student profiles for her, but then told her he couldn't find me. He had lied, possibly even hiding my information from her. But the bigger shock was something else. You had your boyfriend search for your ex-boyfriend, I couldn't help but ask. Clara gave me a strange look. He's not my boyfriend. So you couldn't get the real thing, and now you're settling for me, the substitute? Ethan and I are just friends, Clara insisted, and we will never be together. Whatever, I shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. My indifferent attitude seemed to wound her. Aaron, after you disappeared, I've been searching for you. I haven't dated anyone else. You're the only one I've ever been with. Right, I said, unimpressed. Get to the point. Her demeanor softened. I like you, and I want us to get back together. Clara's confession was startlingly blunt. Naturally, I turned her down. But she was persistent, saying she would pursue me again until I agreed. I found the whole situation rather amusing. I received my official offer from the other airline and began my pre-employment training. True to her word, Clara was relentless, constantly finding excuses to meet up for meals or go shopping. I agreed to go with her every time. I even adopted a stray cat, and knowing that my new job would require me to be away frequently, I asked her to look after it for me. She held the small animal carefully, her eyes hopeful. Aaron, will you come visit the cat often? Of course, I smiled. Make sure you take good care of it. I'll be checking in. Clara was visibly delighted, interpreting this as a sign that I was softening towards her. Little did she know, this was just the first step in my plan for revenge. In November, my company held a joint networking event with Aura Airlines. It was just a simple day trip meant for relaxation and team building. To everyone's surprise, Clara personally came to welcome our group of trainees. Everyone was flattered by her presence. After a day of tours and activities, Clara found me. Are you hungry? Have some candy. She offered me the same sweet and sour candy she had given me when I was 15. Thanks, I said. Are you tired today? Not as exhausting as the training, she replied. You need to balance your work and rest. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. There's no pressure. It's just... I hesitated, meeting her gentle, focused gaze. I let a blush creep up my neck and asked quietly, Clara, if a guy calls a girl every night, can she tell that he likes her? What do you mean? She asked. It's like, I'm afraid to confess my feelings because I don't want to ruin our friendship. Clara froze, the color draining from her face. Aaron, do you like someone? I nodded confidently. I do. The cold November wind blew through the open window. Clara stood there, motionless, like a statue. I waved my hand dismissively. Never mind. I shouldn't be asking you about this. Before I could finish my sentence, she grabbed me and pulled me into her office. Suddenly, we were in darkness. Clara had locked the door. With the curtains drawn, the room was dim and quiet. She pinned me against the door, her eyes a storm of conflicting emotions. Aaron, tell me you're lying. You haven't fallen for someone else. I had never imagined her reaction would be so intense. It's true, I replied honestly. I'm not lying. There's a girl in my training program named Winnie. She's exactly my type, and she's a really nice person. We're in that flirty pre-relationship stage. Clara didn't believe me, so I showed her my phone. Look, I said, pointing to a recent social media post of mine. I posted, "Wish I could watch the sunset. 5 minutes later, Winnie posted a picture of a sunset. I scrolled further. 3 days ago, I posted, "What's your wish for today?" A little while later, Winnie shared a song titled, "Today I Want to See You." These subtle digital flirtations seemed to drive Clara to the edge. She gripped my waist, her hold so tight it was almost an embrace. "Then why did you agree to have meals with me? If I had said no, you would have kept pestering me. Then why did you entrust the cat to me? You can afford to provide the best food and care for it." Clara's teeth were clenched, her voice strained as the reality of the situation finally sank in. "Aaron, you've been playing me all this time?" I laughed. "Why would I do that? I just see you as a friend." Those words completely broke her composure. Just then, I heard the voices of other trainees outside the office. "Where's Leo? He was just here a minute ago." "Clara is missing too. Do you think they could be in the office?" "No way. She never lets outsiders in there." The voices were getting closer. They had no idea that just on the other side of the door, Clara was holding me fiercely. "Would just friends do this?" she asked, her voice low and vehement, keeping me pressed against her, our breaths mingling in the small space. We had both eaten the candy, and the air was filled with a sweet and sour scent. The doorbell rang. "Sorry to bother you, Miss Liu, but have you seen one of our male students?" I froze, trying not to make a sound. The student outside said, "Let's go, there's nobody in there." But Clara just lifted my chin and whispered, "If I open this door right now, what do you think will happen?" "Wait, I think I hear something," a female voice said. It was Winnie. "Leo, are you in there?" Clara's grip tightened. She was smart enough to guess who it was just from the name. "Is it Winnie?" she asked. Winnie hesitated. "Is someone talking in there?" Clara was about to speak again, but I swiftly wrapped my arms around her waist. Her body was slender but strong, her muscles taut beneath my hands. Clara went completely still. I leaned in close to her ear and whispered, "If you say one more word, I will never forgive you." Clara fell silent, but the look in her eyes was one of deep hurt. To her, it must have seemed like I was threatening her for Winnie's sake. Without a response from inside, Winnie and the others eventually left. The sound of their footsteps faded away, and I finally let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Clara's eyes were filled with an anger that was underscored by a profound sense of betrayal. "Aaron, what did I do to you that was so wrong that you would torment me like this? What right do you have to ask me that?" I was fed up, and my own anger surged. "After the filming ended, your parents kicked me out. Did I mean nothing to them but a tool for their public relations?" I turned my glare on her. "And you, Clara, I may be poor, but I have feelings. I gave you my whole heart, and you just played with it." "What?" Clara's brow furrowed, her expression a mixture of anger, shock, and genuine confusion. "I have been completely in love with you for 5 years. How could I have ever played you?" Her question shocked me in turn. She didn't seem to be faking it. What was going on? "Weren't you just treating me as a stand-in for Ethan?" "Who told you that?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Who in the hell told you that?" For the first time, I saw a look of utter brokenness on Clara's face. "I have never liked Ethan. Where did you get that ridiculous idea about a stand-in?" "Your mother told me," I said. "What did she say?" I recounted my conversation with Mrs. Liu, summarizing her cold, manipulative words. As I spoke, Clara's expression grew colder and colder. "She is full of lies," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "Yes, Ethan and I grew up together, but we've barely been close since he started living abroad." Now it was my turn to be shocked. "But on your birthday, Ethan came over to celebrate with you." "He was just dropping off some gifts on his way home from the airport. He didn't even remember it was my birthday." I studied her face, searching for any sign of deception. She didn't seem to be acting, and she was certainly not a professional actress. "But you threw away my birthday gift," I said, the memory still stinging. "That sweatshirt." Bringing it up made my blood boil again. That had been the final straw for me. But Clara didn't offer an explanation. Instead, she opened a door to a small, adjoining room within her office. It contained a few pieces of clothing and a sofa bed for when she needed to rest. And there, hanging prominently on a hook, was the sweatshirt I had given her. It had been preserved with care, not a single stain or wrinkle on it. "This is the one you gave me." I frowned. But I clearly saw. "I received 2 identical ones," Clara explained. "My father gave me the other one." "You threw away the one your dad gave you?" "Yes," she said with a bitter smile. "He bought the wrong size. He doesn't even know what size I wear." I paused, processing this new information. "So, what's the situation between you and Ethan now?" "After he graduated, my mother arranged for him to join Aura Airlines as my assistant. She is very interested in his family's business and wants to form a corporate alliance." "And what does Ethan think about that?" I asked. That day, listening to their phone call, I had sensed that Ethan had feelings for her. "He confessed to me 3 years ago," Clara said, laying everything out with stark honesty. "It shocked me at the time. I had always thought of him as just a childhood friend. He said that after spending more time together, he thought I was a good match for him. But I turned him down on the spot. I wanted to have him reassigned from his position as my assistant, but he insisted it wasn't necessary. He claimed he had moved on. In our circle, it's common for families to match their children based on social and economic status. He found someone else. I believed him, until I ran into you and realized he had been lying to me as an excuse to stay close." I understood now. After their phone call, I never saw Ethan at the company again. He must have been reassigned immediately, but I was still puzzled. I look so much like him, and he's even more handsome than I am. Why me? Is he better looking than you? Hardly. Clara took the sweatshirt from the hook and held it up against herself. 5 years had passed. She was no longer the girl I had known. "Aaron, I like you for who you are, not because of what you look like." Her gaze softened as she reminisced about our past. "My parents never paid any attention to me. Those 3 years we spent together in high school were the happiest of my life. I liked having someone to walk home with after school every day. I enjoyed having someone to argue with over the last piece of meat at the dinner table. And seeing the light on in your room every night from my window, I liked that too. I really, really like you. And only you." Clara's eyes began to well up with tears. She seemed on the verge of crying. As if embarrassed, she bowed her head. In that moment, her hunched figure looked just as it had when I first met her, all alone, cold, and desperately yearning for love and companionship. After that emotional revelation, we spent some time clearing up other misunderstandings. I asked her why, when I had suggested breaking up, she had so quickly and decisively deleted me. It turned out that on the very same day Mrs. Liu had confronted me, Clara's father had sought her out for a rare, heart-to-heart conversation. He had spoken at length about me, claiming I was only sticking around for the publicity and attention. He even asserted that my entire relationship with her was a calculated move for selfish reasons. Clara hadn't believed him at first, but then her father showed her some behind-the-scenes footage from the documentary. In the clip, I had admitted that I came to F City with ulterior motives, specifically for the money. Seeing that, Clara had been shocked and deeply disappointed. So when I sent the text to break up, her own hurt and anger had fueled her quick response. But she had regretted it that very same night. She had tried to contact me to take it back, only to discover that my account had been deactivated. She searched for any clue as to where I might have gone, but no one knew anything. When the new school year began, she had combed through the entire A University campus looking for me, but a teacher informed her that I had never even enrolled. Clara had even traveled to my hometown, but I wasn't there. During the year I repeated my studies, my principal had taken me out of town to a special prep school. Later, I changed my name, making it virtually impossible for her to find me. Recounting all this trouble, Clara let out a long sigh. "I've come to terms with it now," she said. "Wanting money isn't a major flaw. I have plenty of money, so if that's what you're after, go ahead. If you want to use me for your ambitions, I'm willing to be used." I shook my head. That video was edited. I did want the money, but it was because the production team promised that if I performed well, a benefactor would pay for my grandfather's medical treatment and also donate books to my hometown school. Clara just stared at me, muttering, "So that's how it was. That's how it was." "But," I added softly, "they all broke their promises. My grandpa passed away. The school had to shut down, which is a real shame. In the end, neither the production team nor the Liu family kept their word. When my grandfather was critically ill, those powerful people wouldn't even agree to see me. I guess I was just a pawn in their show. The only silver lining was that I had listened to my principal and hadn't wasted the opportunity to get a real education." Clara's face went pale. "I'm so sorry, Aaron. I didn't know about any of this. If I had known, I would have—" "There are no ifs," I said, cutting her off. "It's all in the past now." "Well, what about us?" she asked, her voice hopeful. "We're like the school and my grandfather," I replied, my voice firm. "There's no going back." That was my final answer to her. 5 years is a long time, enough to fundamentally change a person. The passionate idealism of youth had faded, replaced by a weary resignation. Now that I had seen the true face of the world, I couldn't foolishly believe that love could conquer all. In a way, Mrs. Liu had been right. We were from different worlds. Parting on good terms was the best possible outcome for us. I did feel a pang of guilt for the way I had retaliated against Clara, but it was fleeting, maybe lasting only a second. If she was suffering, then let her suffer. I had endured pain no less than hers, and who was there to pity me? Besides, I had already rejected her once. She was the one who wouldn't give up, bringing these consequences upon herself. But I hadn't expected that Clara would persist, even after a second refusal. In December, Winnie fell ill, and I took her to the hospital. While I was at the pharmacy picking up her medication, I unexpectedly ran into Clara. She called out to me immediately. "What's wrong?" "I'm fine," I said. "It's Winnie who has a fever." Her face hardened. "She's making you come here? This place is full of sick people. Isn't she worried you'll catch something? How can she be so careless with your health?" "Don't jump to conclusions," I said. "I came on my own." My defense of Winnie only seemed to make Clara's expression darken further. "You care about her that much? You'd risk getting sick just to be with her?" "This has nothing to do with you," I said, turning back to what I was doing. Clara followed me, staying by my side like a shadow. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Clara, can you please stop following me?" "Look at me," she demanded. We locked eyes for a long moment. I was completely bewildered by her behavior. "If you're not unwell, I'm leaving." A defeated look crossed her face, an expression full of grievance and disappointment. "Why don't you ask me why I'm at the hospital? Didn't you notice that I'm sick too?" Now that she mentioned it, she did look pale and unwell. A glimmer of hope flickered in her gaze. She wanted me to show some concern for her, but I just said, "I'm with Winnie right now. I have a girlfriend, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to take care of you." My words were a direct hit. Clara was dumbstruck. the little color that was left in her face draining away completely. "Since when?" she whispered. "Yesterday." She didn't speak, looking as if even standing was a monumental effort. I left her there and returned to Winnie's room. Winnie was a great person. She had a gentle personality and was incredibly motivated. She was also considered the prettiest girl in our batch of trainees. It turned out she liked me too, so our relationship had developed naturally. When I got back to the room, Winnie asked, "What took so long? It looked like you were talking to someone just now. Who was that?" "It was Clara from Aura Airlines." "Do you know her well?" Winnie asked casually. "She seemed to visit you at work quite a bit." "Not really," I replied, pouring her a cup of hot water. "She wanted to recruit me for Aura once, that's all." "Why didn't you join? Isn't Aura your dream airline?" Winnie looked a little envious. "I wanted to work there back then. The pay is amazing, but their standards were too high for me to get in." I just smiled and didn't say anything more. After that day, Clara stopped trying to contact me. But Sam, who had successfully become a flight attendant at Aura, took over, giving me regular updates on her. "Leo, you won't believe it," he told me one day. "Clara has been fighting with her mom a lot lately. It looks like she's trying to take control of the company." I was surprised, but upon reflection it seemed very much in character for her. Her strained relationship with Mrs. Liu was bound to lead to a power struggle. "And get this," Sam continued, "the latest gossip is that Clara might have broken up with someone. She's been looking down every day, and someone heard her asking a new assistant for advice on how to be a third wheel after having a few drinks. Wow, she's actually considering being a third wheel. What kind of guy could drive her to that?" I guessed. Maybe it was Ethan? No, Clara cleared that up a while ago. She said there's nothing between her and Ethan, so it has to be someone else. Your old company is certainly lively. You should have joined Aura when you had the chance. By the way, how is your pilot assessment going? A sour feeling churned in my stomach. The Civil Aviation Authority's license assessment had begun, but my name wasn't on the list of candidates from my company. I couldn't understand it. I had topped every single evaluation during our training. Sam spent the whole night comforting me, encouraging me to find out what had happened. On the day of the assessment, after seeing Winnie off, I went straight to my superior's office. At first, he was polite but evasive. "The slots are limited, Leo. Maybe next time." "I just want to know why I wasn't chosen this time," I pressed. "What are the selection criteria?" "Well, it's a collective decision made by management. It's not easy to explain in a few words." "No problem," I said, sitting down. "You can take your time. I have all day." My persistence finally got to him. He slammed his hand on the desk. "Do you have any connections? Any powerful family backing you?" "What do you mean by that?" I demanded. "I haven't missed a single training session. I've never taken a day off, and I've completed more flight simulations than anyone else. How can you judge me based on something like that?" "You can say that doesn't matter," he sneered. "But with that kind of naive attitude, no one in this industry will want to hire you in the future." I was utterly speechless. I had never imagined that my career could be derailed for such a ridiculous, unfair reason. I knew I had started from behind, which was why I had worked twice as hard as everyone else. I had finally made it out of my village and become number 1 in my class. Yet I was still being sidelined. Why? 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 In my more than 20 years of life, through all the struggles and hardships, I had never shed a tear. But in that moment, I felt so profoundly wronged that tears started streaming down my face. The manager kicked me out of his office. As I stood in the hallway wiping my eyes, I noticed someone standing in the corner. It was Clara. She was leaning against the wall, her expression calm, as if she had heard the entire exchange. "Leo," she called out to me, "aren't you going to go back in there and tell him off? His kind of outdated, narrow-minded thinking won't be changed by words. He needs a real wake-up call." But he's my boss, I protested weakly. What if I have your back? Clara said, her voice filled with unwavering determination. She was right. If I remained silent now, more trainees would suffer the same unfair treatment from him in the future. I couldn't physically hit him. That would be wrong. Instead, I grabbed my water bottle, marched back into his office, and threw the entire contents in his face. He pointed a trembling finger at me, shouting in a rage. Just then, Clara stepped in, placing a steadying hand on my trembling shoulder. The trainees you sent for assessment today were all rejected by Aura Airlines, she said calmly. The manager looked at her in shock. Miss Liu, she nodded towards me. This pilot, Aura Airlines is hiring him. The manager's demeanor changed instantly. He put on a fawning, sycophantic smile. Miss Liu, please, let's sit down and discuss this. You are not qualified to speak with me, she shot back, her voice like ice. Make sure your superior delivers Leo's personnel file to Aura Airlines by tomorrow. The manager's smile vanished. The full weight of the mess he had created finally seemed to dawn on him. I sat by the side of the road, feeling dejected and not wanting to speak. The winter wind was biting, chilling me to the bone. Clara's voice cut through my thoughts. Starting today, you should take a break. But it won't be for long. As soon as we receive your file, you'll start at Aura. You will still have to go through our internal testing process, of course. I felt a wave of defeat wash over me. In the end, did I still need to rely on Clara's connections? What was the point of all my hard work? As if sensing my thoughts, Clara sat down on the curb next to me, not seeming to care at all about her expensive suit. Then, she took something out of her pocket, peeled the wrapper, and popped it into my mouth. It was the same tangy, sweet candy from when I was 15. Aaron, she asked, what do you consider to be a commercial pilot's primary safety responsibility? Carrying the lives of all the passengers on my shoulders, I answered automatically. Exactly, she said. So even for you, I will not lower our standards. I was a bit stunned. Clara's expression was incredibly serious. I am bringing you back to Aura not because of our personal history. It's because, as the head of this company, I have reviewed all of your past performance records and made a business decision. I believe that losing a talented trainee like you would be Aura Airlines' loss. I want you back, but I will never exchange a pilot position for personal reasons. No matter how close we are, I cannot risk the lives of my passengers on someone who lacks the necessary skills. You are getting this job because you have earned it, not because of your connection to me. As for the authorities' assessment, I promise you that Aura Airlines will only ever recommend pilots based on their performance and achievements, not on their family connections. I slowly looked up. Just then, an airplane flew overhead, leaving a beautiful white trail in the clear blue sky. I murmured, I want to fly. Clara smiled. Aura Airlines welcomes you. She wasn't lying. Once my file was transferred to Aura, I went through a series of rigorous company tests and background checks before I was officially hired. The day I received my official offer letter, the first thing I wanted to do was break up with Winnie. I went to her apartment to share my good news, but I never got the chance to speak. Winnie was ecstatic because she had just passed her exam and earned her commercial pilot's license, meaning she could finally fly for a major airline. I was genuinely happy for her. But then Winnie suddenly asked, Leo, you're not going back to flying, are you? Why do you ask? I hadn't told her about the offer from Aura. I had wanted to surprise her once everything was finalized. My plan was that I would be away flying frequently, but someone needed to be at home to take care of the children and our elderly parents. I was stunned. You mean, now that you're stepping away from your career, why don't you just stay home? She said. Let's get married soon and have 2 kids while I'm still young, and my own career isn't too demanding yet. She framed it as if she were discussing it with me, but her tone was one of absolute certainty. "Winnie," I said slowly, "during our training, my grades were consistently better than yours." "So what? I have the license now. I'll become a captain long before you do. My salary will be more than enough to support a family. You'll just have to learn to cut back on your spending." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How had I never seen this side of her? We had only been together for a month, and she wasn't even pretending anymore. She continued to lay out my future for me as if I had no say in the matter. I picked up my cup of tea and splashed it in her face. After using the same move on the manager, it came to me quite naturally. "Are you crazy?" Winnie shrieked. "No, you are," I replied, feeling a strange sense of calm. I grabbed my bag and walked towards the door. Before I left, I paused and added, "By the way, I got into Aura Airlines." Leaving Winnie in a state of shock, I walked away with my head held high. I joined Aura Airlines and became colleagues with Sam. However, I still had to undergo more training while waiting for the next round of license assessments from the Aviation Authority. During this period, the leadership at Aura was in a state of flux. Clara gradually wrested power from her mother, introducing her own philosophies into the company culture. She implemented policies that ensured male and female pilots received equal pay for equal work. She also became heavily involved in charitable work, but unlike her mother's performative acts of philanthropy, Clara's efforts were genuine and made a real difference. She funded the construction of a new school in my hometown. That was just the beginning. Eventually, more schools, funded by her foundation, began to appear in other impoverished villages. By the following autumn, I had passed all my exams with flying colors and finally earned my commercial pilot's license. From that moment on, I was officially an airline pilot. From the muddy mountain roads of my childhood to the sleek jetways of the airport, the journey had taken me nearly 24 years, and it was far from over. I began to accumulate flight hours, my sights set firmly on the captain's seat. By the time I was 26, Mrs. Liu had been completely sidelined from the company. She never suspected that the business challenges and setbacks she had faced over the years were orchestrated by her own daughter. One day, as I passed by the main office, I overheard a heated argument inside. Mrs. Liu was aging visibly. Dyeing her hair could no longer hide the gray roots. "Clara," she pleaded, "I am your mother. Why would you do this to me?" Clara's reply was chillingly calm. "Did you ever treat me like your daughter?" She smiled faintly, her expression devoid of emotion. "You never celebrated a single birthday with me. You never attended a single parent-teacher meeting. Where were you when I had surgery? You were with your lover. During all those times, did you ever once think of me as your real daughter?" Mrs. Liu tried to defend herself, but Clara continued, her voice cutting. "And when you spoke so harshly to Aaron, did you ever consider that he was your daughter's first love, and how much your daughter liked him?" She declared coldly, "You never treated me with kindness, so how could you possibly expect me to treat you well?" As Clara walked out of the office, she saw me standing there. She seemed surprised. "When did you land?" "An hour ago," I said. "I arrived early today." "You already knew about that, didn't you?" She smiled and remained silent. I understood. For the past 2 years, she had been quietly tracking my every flight, never missing a single one. We both grew up and continued to mature. We no longer spoke endlessly about love or the lack of it. We found other ways to connect, as colleagues and as friends. We often met for meals, but we never discussed getting back together. We talked about flight routes, piloting techniques, and the glittering city lights below. There are so many things in life that are more important than love. Throughout this time, Clara remained single. I knew she was still waiting for me, silently waiting. Time flew by, and in what felt like the blink of an eye, 7 years had passed. During those 7 years, I completed 2,700 flight hours, passed all the necessary assessments, and was promoted to the rank of captain. On my 31st birthday, Aura Airlines officially launched the new route from my hometown to F-City. Clara personally gave the order, appointing me as the first captain for this inaugural flight. I brought my old principal with me to F-City, making him one of the very first passengers. The flight started smoothly, but midway through, we unexpectedly encountered a patch of extreme weather that hadn't been picked up by the forecast. The turbulence was violent, making for an incredibly challenging flight. It would be a lie to say I wasn't scared. My palms were slick with sweat. The instructor captain was in the cockpit behind me, sensing my mental struggle and offering words of encouragement. But the weather only seemed to get worse. Fear began to spread through the cabin. Sam's voice came over the intercom, and I could hear the background noise of chaos. "Leo, are you nervous?" A familiar voice came through my headset. Sam and I had been best friends since our freshman year of college and had worked together ever since. He knew me better than anyone and could see right through my calm facade. "Don't be nervous. It's just the stress of the new position getting to you. It's not because you're not capable. You just became a captain. You're still adjusting your mindset." I knew he was right. You were the top student back then. No one is better at this than you. Whether you decide to keep flying or make an emergency landing, I'll be out here awaiting your instructions. Okay? The weather seemed to intensify. I suddenly remembered my childhood. Growing up in the mountains, we experienced this kind of weather all the time. No matter how bad the storm, I would always make my way to school. The year I repeated my grade, the school had to shut down. Lack of funds was part of the reason, but there were also no students left. I will never forget the disappointed look on my principal's face. He had told me, "You need to represent all those kids. You have to spread your wings and fly high above the clouds." He was the one who took me out of the village to repeat the grade and take the exams. I was carrying their hopes on my shoulders. Yes, and the hopes of countless others. So, I couldn't give up here. I gathered my resolve and seriously discussed the options with the air traffic control tower and my crew. Everyone agreed to continue flying. I radioed Sam. "We can fly." Just those 3 words. Sam let out a long, audible breath. "Then I'll handle the cabin." I knew he was just as scared as I was, but he still chose to be my unwavering support, fighting this battle alongside me. Sam's soothing voice began to broadcast through the cabin. He said, "Trust the captain." 20 minutes later, I finally broke through the cloud cover and saw a ray of brilliant sunshine. The airport was situated in the town near my old village. After a successful landing, cheers from the control tower filled the broadcast. Once all the passengers had safely disembarked, Sam finally relaxed, giving me a few celebratory punches on the arm. "All right, let's go." "Enough messing around," I said, but I was smiling. We tidied our uniforms, put on our hats, and left the cockpit. As I entered the airport terminal, I was stunned. Both sides of the arrivals passage were lined with people. Some were passengers, some were their relatives. "Thank you! Thank you, Captain!" Cheers erupted from all around. In that moment, all the years of hard work and struggle felt worthwhile. My principal's hair was now completely gray, but he was as joyful as a child, proudly telling everyone around him, "Look, the captain is my student. He was the first college student to ever come from our village." And at the very end of the passage stood Clara. Her eyes were red, and she was holding a bouquet of flowers and a birthday cake she had prepared for me. Our eyes met, and in that one look, a lifetime seemed to pass. From 15 to 31, every memory was vivid, yet it all dissipated like smoke in the wind. Youth is like the candy we shared when we were 15, sweet, sour, and unforgettable. My girl wasn't young anymore, yet she had always been there, standing by my side. Having survived the ordeal, everything was suddenly crystal clear. I smiled warmly at Clara. She couldn't hold back her emotions any longer. Tears streamed down her face like rain as she rushed forward and threw her arms around me. Tightly. This time, amidst the cheers and encouragement of the crowd, I gently held her in return.